Welcome back, everybody, to...
Let's talk about the husband. No, let's not talk about the husband.
You see, you did the same thing I did. Let's not talk about the husband. Yay!
Yay! So what are we going to talk about today, Harry?
Let's talk about the fact that we are polar opposites.
Opposites attracting.
Well, that is true.
And that we're polar opposites. And we watch totally different TV shows. So we were talking about it being alone versus RuPaul's Drag Race.
Right.
Because you said that to somebody the other day.
Well, Delilah and Henry are like binging Alone right now, which is one of my favorite shows. I mean, as you know, I like to put on a heavy backpack and go high into the high Sierras every year, and get into the wilderness and get as far out away from people as possible. And I stay out there usually for 3 or 4 nights, and I don't see another human being for 4 days. And
yeah,
I'm
my kind
alone.
of fun. Woo!
I'm alone. I'm doing all the bathroom things in the woods, and I'm catching fish, and I'm saying hello to the marmots and the bears and the deer that are up there, and I'm just having a great time being alone. And that's one of my favorite TV shows is Alone. What's your favorite TV show, darling?
Well, I have a lot of favorites, but one that I get pure joy from is RuPaul's Drag Race.
That's right. So you're watching RuPaul's Drag Race upstairs, and I'm watching Alone downstairs. That kind of goes to show you that we are complete and utter opposites. Because, I mean, look, I like RuPaul. I've met him. You've danced with him at a party. You were amazing with RuPaul. But you would have to tie me down and stick needles in my feet to watch that show. It's just a different cultural thing, And
Well,
I don't
same.
think you would never watch Alone.
Same
either,
with Alone.
right? Yeah. Okay.
You would have to tie me down and probably even drug me. If you gave me a Quaalude, I'd watch it.
They don't make Quaaludes anymore.
Such a shame.
You've had Quaaludes?
I've had them with you. Sorry, but yeah.
We had maybe one time. Was it real? We don't even know if it was a real Quaalude.
Well, whatever it was, listen, it's probably a good thing that they're gone.
I guess so.
I liked it.
Really? I don't remember.
I just outed you. How do you feel about that? I outed you taking
my
Quaaludes.
Drug thing?
I just outed
that was like
you.
our first trip in Hawaii.
It was.
Like,
and we took a Quaalude, or so we thought.
If somebody gave us something and said, this is a Quaalude, and we took it. But, I don't think it was much.
I do. I liked it.
You liked it a lot? Okay. Well.
Are you kidding me? I think it's a tragedy that there are no longer Quaaludes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm okay with it. But that's just another indication of like our oppositeness.
Yeah.
And do we know why opposites attract? From a physics point of view? Because this takes me right back to TAE,
Why
Tri
don't you
Alpha
tell
Energy.
us, Mr. Physics
Well,
man?
I mean, I helped to create this company in 1998 that is now hopefully going to make fusion energy for the world. But here's the thing. What I learned over the last 40 years while I've been doing this physics stuff is that opposites definitely attract.
But why?
Why? And similar people repel each other. Well, okay, so a proton is a positively charged subatomic particle. And if you take 2 protons, which are positively charged, and you try to put them together, which is what we're doing with fusion, they don't go together because they're positively charged. If you've ever taken a magnet, and you take a magnet, the 2 polar sides that are the same.
And they go.
You try to put them together. You can't put them together. You can never get those 2 things to come together because of a thing called the Coulomb barrier. And that is the barrier that exists when those 2 similar poles try to attract.
I just fell asleep, but anyway, go ahead. I literally nodded off.
What?
I nodded off. I'm back.
Poor Dr. Coulomb,
I'm back.
Oh, okay. So what we're trying to do with fusion is to get those positively charged protons to actually fuse. Well, when the lights don't come on, you're not going to go to sleep when the lights don't come on. There's no electricity.
There's already no power at our house right now.
That's true.
Our power went out at our house.
But fortunately, we have the Tesla batteries, which kicked right in. So we didn't really notice it, except that we lost our internet and I lost my connection to the board meeting for TAE that I was listening to.
Do you fall asleep on that?
I do not. No. I'm actually really excited by everything that happens. You would fall asleep instantly.
Okay, listen. You and fusion energy is like me and fashion.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. I kind of understand fashion as an expressive medium. As you know, I wear the same thing every day, so fashion doesn't really exist in my ethos. But I'm the beneficiary of you look amazing all the time. No, I
Oh,
mean, not
sometimes
only,
you really do say some nice things.
well, but you do. I mean,
Thank
I am
you.
the beneficiary of your
That's
obsession with
really nice.
fashion.
That's very nice because
Yeah.
I love it. I love it like you love
Fusion
fusion and Dr.
physics.
What's his name? Colum?
Dr. Colum, the Colum
The
barrier. Yeah.
colon barrier. See, I'm
Yeah.
listening. You think I'm not, guys. I have fucking paid attention to fusion energy things. A few things stick in my brain. Listen, 25 years of it, a few things have stuck in my brain. I can almost repeat all of it. Almost.
Good. Okay. So I'm going to quiz you. Maybe not today,
Not
but
today.
I'm going to give you some time to bone up on fusion and
Yeah.
plasma
I'm going to
physics
be
and
boning up.
particle physics and all the things that I'm obsessed by. And at some point I will do the same thing with fashion.
Okay. And I'll do the same with you. And we'll do like flashcards, and I'll show you a dress and you'll have to say who designed it. You'll have to guess the designer.
Yeah. That's not a bad idea. I bet I could do that.
I like this game.
And
Eve,
if
I
I
think we have
showed
a
you,
couple new games to play.
if I showed you like an amazing equation of, let's
Well,
say
I'm not-
Schrodinger's equation or something like that.
I
you
do
might be
know
able-
Schrodinger's cat, right?
That's true. You do.
I
We
do.
have discussed Schrodinger's cat before.
And so I'm aware of, I think people sometimes are so surprised at the things that come out of my mouth on many levels, not just, on a housey wifey level, but on a level of like, I know some things about, politics and science that were, say, at a good dinner party. People look at me like, I can't believe she's actually that smart. Or I never thought she could think like that. People look at me like that.
Well, I mean, we both share that because we were at a dinner party last week and we were asked to like talk about who we were or whatever. And I just happened to mention the fact that I had helped found this company back in 1998. And all of a sudden the hostess said, "Oh, so you're really a nerd underneath all of that?" So people don't
they
really
were
know it.
really surprised by all of it. Well, they know it now. I just
Mhm.
looked at your fingernails. I'm just going to be honest about it. And they're still long on one hand
Of course they are.
for your guitar playing.
That's right. Is this
Have we already talked
distracting
about
you?
that? No,
we
we
have
did.
talked about that. We talked at length about that.
Sometimes, I'm going to be honest, I was just distracted by them. I
Yeah.
was. Think about it. If all of a sudden you were me and you just looked over for a minute and your husband's thumbnail was longer, his nails, actually, all of them were longer than yours on just one hand, you might clock it and go, oh, wow.
So, oh, wow. That's what I'm getting from you right now? Oh, wow.
All right.
Listen,
yeah.
you like the sound of the guitar, right? It would
I
not
do.
sound it would not sound
I
good
do.
if I didn't have these fingernails. So
I just, sometimes you look over and you're just like, because they're pointy. Also, they're like not normal.
They're like vampire fingernails. then.
Yes.
Okay. They're like vampires. Okay. So I'll suck your blood later after the show. Okay.
Sometimes they're just moments, and that was a moment. I was
Okay.
like,
So
okay.
moving on.
Yeah.
Okay. So opposites.
Does that make you nervous? That I
No,
stopped
not
you?
at all.
Because you like to get on a roll. You know what I love to do? I've decided you're on this roll, like you've got a plan. We got to talk about this. And then all of a sudden, I'll throw you a little curveball and you got to take a minute and think about it. I like to do that.
Yeah. Is that what you're doing right now? You're throwing me a curveball?
I like it.
Yeah.
I feel powerful going, I'm going to throw a curveball right now and I'm going to talk about his nails. And then I do it and it's fun.
Am I curved out? What's the story?
Well,
I
it
mean-
slows you up and it makes you smile. See, there we see your teeth. I don't know.
All
I
right.
like how this dynamic is going. It's interesting. to
All
me.
right. So let's talk about more opposite things. How about, you don't like to camp, right? I mean,
I hate to
camping.
camp.
So tell me what you don't like about camping.
Well, let's just start with packing it all up and going and then unpacking it and putting the tent up and all that stuff. I know people think that's a fun thing, but I am very impatient. And to me, that's just.
Even if you had a Sherpa and somebody did it for you, you wouldn't go?
Well, I would do that. Like I would go on a safari in Africa in one of those fancy safaris that are camping,
Glamping.
glamping. I would
How
do
fancy
that.
would it have to be? Would it have to be like, can you live in a tent or would
Yeah.
it have to have like walls that are made of cinder block or
It
something?
just has to be, what's the word I'm looking for? Um,
Glamorous,
no,
fabulous, like really
no,
comfortable, like really
clean,
civilized.
civilized. That's the word I'm looking for. It has to be civilized.
Okay,
Yeah.
so and you think you're going to find that in the savannah in Africa somewhere, like
Well,
really
if
civilized
there's a lot of people that are
safari?
putting it all together and doing all of the stuff, I'm spoiled now. I'm going to admit it. You have spoiled me. I'm going to blame it on you.
So I created a monster.
Well, when I met you, never flown first class,
Okay,
never bought fancy shoes or designer clothes,
okay,
um, never rode in a limo
okay.
except for my prom, a white stretch limo with Bob.
Uh-huh.
Um, so
So did I turned you on to first class? I turned you on to
yes,
fancy clothes and fancy
yeah.
shoes.
I
How
mean, you
about
did.
handbags? I never got you a handbag, did I?
I never bought anything expensive until I met you. Nothing. I wanted to, but couldn't really afford it. So you were living a first class lifestyle, and I jumped right into it. Not that I didn't like it, but I wasn't living that lifestyle.
So now you can't live without it? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I don't have to.
Well, but what if? I mean, what if all of a sudden you didn't have access to your lip gloss?
Well, I wouldn't like that.
Yeah, or
No.
the 3 or 400 pairs of sunglasses that you have. All of a
Oh,
sudden you didn't.
let's talk about it. I have so many pairs of glasses and
I
sunglasses. That's an
know.
issue. I really do. But boy, like today, I thought, I'm going to wear these glasses. Like
How do
my
you possibly pick out there? You have such
I
overchoice.
know where everything is. I'm like a fashion hoarder at this point. So I know, even though it's a little hoardy, I know where everything is.
So if you just took the "der" off the fashion hoarder, what would you come up with?
Whore.
Fashion whore. Okay,
I am that for
just
sure.
saying.
I'm a whore.
All right.
I'm a
So
whore in many ways,
and
actually.
how many pairs? I actually counted the number of pairs of shoes that you have.
You did not.
I did.
In every room?
I went through the whole house just
That's
a couple of months
almost like
ago.
reading somebody's diary.
It's close. No, but I was just curious I thought, well, I wonder, I mean, I have, I have more shoes than I need. That's for darn sure. I
You
have,
don't have that many shoes.
but I have
But
more than
more
I
than you
need.
ever wear,
Yeah. Okay.
certainly.
Do you have more than you ever wear?
Listen, Daniel Brown, my stylist,
Hmm.
said to me the other day, "You have the best shoe closet in all of Los Angeles." And I
Um,
took that as high praise.
yeah.
We pull from it all the time. So just so you know, I've had shoes since 3, 4 years ago. We're still wearing them, pulling them.
I hope so, because you've got,
How many did you count? How many?
you have close to 1,000 pairs of shoes.
No, I
Yes, you
don't. Do I
Yeah.
really?
Um,
Are you
it's right up
serious?
there. It's right up there. If you
No, I
count
don't.
if you
I
count all
don't
the
have
slippers and
1,000.
tennis shoes, because you've got at least close to 100 pairs of tennis shoes. Just
I like tennis shoes a lot. And guys,
yeah.
I'm on the low level right now. I'm in the low end. Like
Uh,
I haven't bought tennis shoes in a long
So
time.
you and Imelda Marcos are right up there, kind of inhabiting that same sort of measure of shoe dumb, whatever that is.
God, I wouldn't have thought that.
Remember that Amelia, who walks those shows all the time in Paris, sent us photographs of her feet after doing numerous shows in Paris last Fashion Week.
She had like 25 blister band-aids on her feet.
At least 25 blister bands. Her feet were like hamburger.
Well, I think what people don't know about Amelia is her foot's like a 10 and a half. And, sample size shoes are like not. They're like 7.5, 8.
That's
8 and a
right.
half.
They always fit the clothes just perfectly, but the shoes never fit.
So
right?
that poor girl, I mean,
Yeah.
do you remember when she was little? I do. When she was little, her feet were so fat and big, we could
Well,
barely
she was a
fit them
bruiser.
into shoes.
Yeah, I mean, she was a bruiser from the moment she came out. She was huge.
She had those rolls, and then her feet were so fat, you couldn't put them in shoes.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Well,
actually have great empathy for her because, number one, you can hardly find, she's almost 11, actually.
size
So
11, you mean?
10 and a half. Well,
Yeah.
let's say 10 and a half. It's hard to find girls' shoes at 10 and a half.
Well, judging from the condition of her feet after a week in Paris during Fashion Week, yeah, it's hard to find good shoes for her. Her feet were messed up.
Yeah. The only good thing is she can't borrow my shoes.
No, but
So
Delilah
only
can.
Delilah comes and steals them. So she probably has, at least 10, 20 pairs of them that she took a really good pair of vintage Gucci boots.
Oh, we're
that-
getting a little bit into the weeds here. Okay.
Why?
What? I just, she's a thief now?
No, no, no. Those are good ones.
Oh.
I can always get them back.
All right.
Yeah. She tells me when she takes them. There were good ones. I'm thinking about a good vintage Gucci boot.
Yeah, I never think about a good vintage Gucci boot. It never
Tom Ford.
Has that ever crossed my mind.
Tom Ford 1996 vintage Gucci boot. It's real good.
Okay.
See, I dream about that kind of stuff.
Do you really?
What do you dream about?
I dream about
particle physics.
I dream about neutrons and protons and muons and gluons and things like that. Yeah. Those are my dream. My dreams are filled with whizzing particles traveling at 186,000 miles per second.
Okay, now I'm asleep.
That's the speed of light. Just saying. Okay, 300,000 kilometers per hour per second, actually. So yeah, very
you guys,
fast.
help me.
Over a lifetime, a person consumes at least the equivalent of the height of the Eiffel Tower in microplastics. OMG. 2.5 minutes is all it takes before a nonstick pan overheats and releases toxins. Okay, now I'm afraid because I've been cooking with this stuff for many years, but here's the thing. Caraway has come up with a solution. Now you can cook all your food on nonstick, completely non-toxic cookware. It's amazing. So on Thanksgiving and Christmas, my mom used to make Yorkshire pudding. One of my memories from that time is that not only did it taste great, but the pan that she cooked it in was completely covered with all the stuff left over after she cooked it, and she was spent hours scraping the pan. But now with Caraway, you could cook that Yorkshire pudding and it would just slide right out of the pan. So speaking of my mom, Caraway and all their products would be an incredible gift for Mother's Day. And just as a reminder, their iconic cookware set comes with a saute pan, fry pan, Dutch oven, and saucepan, plus lids for all of them. A canvas lid holder and a magnetic pan rack for the storage. It's the ultimate kitchen setup and will save you money versus buying the items individually. Plus, if you visit carawayhome.com/husband, you can take an additional 10% off your next purchase. This deal is exclusive for our listeners, so visit carawayhome.com/husband or use code HUSBAND at checkout. Caraway, non-toxic cookware made modern. This episode of Let's Not Talk About the Husband is brought to you by Booking.com. Listing your vacation rental on Booking.com opens the door to more guests. Booking.com is one of the most downloaded travel apps in the world. That makes it the place to list your vacation rentals if you want to earn more with consistent bookings, reach new markets, and turn hosting into a steady income. Over the past 25 years, they've helped more than 1.8 billion vacation rental guests find places to stay. So why not help them find yours? And it's not just access to amazing guests. Booking.com also makes it easy for you to run your growing business. You can chat with guests, accept or decline bookings, and have total control over your property's calendar and finances. It's hosting on your terms. The best part? Getting started is super easy. In less than 15 minutes, you can register your property, and nearly half of partners get their first booking within a week. Plus, if you're already listed on another site, Booking.com makes it easy to import your property info and get going right away. Whether you're looking to earn the extra income, fill those vacant weekends, or grow your business, head over to Booking.com to see how you can get started today. The reach is global. The bookings are consistent, and the control is yours. For the bookings you've dreamed of, list your property on Booking.com. That's Booking.com. Booking.com. So if we weren't opposites, let's say I was exactly like you, and you and I occupied the same headspace.
Ew.
You think ew?
Ew.
You if I was like if I was talking to you about Gucci shoes all the time, you wouldn't
Ew.
like that?
Ew.
No. Well,
Ew.
Why not?
Because okay, here's the thing. You never want your husband to like look more in the mirror than you do.
Well, that's not going to happen in this case.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, I think there are some men, for me, this is my own opinion. I don't want someone looking in the mirror at themselves, a man, more than me.
And how often do you look in the mirror?
I look in the mirror less than you think I would.
Mm-hmm.
You
Is
know?
that right?
Yeah.
What about just random reflective surfaces that you happen to pass by
less
on
than
the
you'd
street?
think. Less than you'd think.
I sometimes see people doing that. Like whenever they walk by a window or something, they're always checking themselves out and seeing how they look.
Well, it's Narcissus,
There you go.
the god who looked in the
Well, he wasn't
pool
exactly a
puddle.
god, but he did look. The narcissist did look in a
What
puddle.
was he?
He was a character in a myth, but Narcissus wasn't a god.
You played
No.
Perseus. Was he a god?
Perseus was not a god. Perseus is mortal, and so
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah.
But your dad was a god, or your
well,
mom.
Well, my parents were gods. That's true. True. Zeus was my father, and Laurence Olivier played him in the movie, which is why I did
Name
Clash
drop.
of the
That's our first name drop
of
of the day.
Well,
Wow, that's a big name drop.
is it?
Yeah.
Well,
Well, Laurence Olivier?
this is why I did Clash of the Titans, to meet him.
See, I like these stories. Let's
Okay.
tell this story. These are good. So you did Clash of the Titans.
Well, at the moment when I was offered Clash of the Titans, I had been offered another film called Tristan and Isolde.
I remember that.
Kate Mulgrew was playing Isolde, and they asked me to play Tristan, and Richard Burton played like the king or something in it. I don't know what his character was exactly.
At that point, they must have just been paying those guys so much money to do that stuff, right?
I guess so. I don't know, but it came down to do I want to meet Richard Burton or do I want to meet Laurence Olivier?
Seriously.
And the script for Tristan and Isolde was quite dense and wonderful and very evocative of that time period and
These
all of that.
words are
It was
really
great.
big, guys, today.
And then the script for Clash of the Titans was kind of dumb, I don't know.
Did you just call Clash of the Titans dumb?
I said the script, not Clash of the Titans, the movie. I
Wow.
mean, the script, for example, like I studied mythology in college, and the myth in Clash of the Titans is not exactly like the real myth, because Perseus never rode on Pegasus in the actual myths. So they combined a couple of characters together to make Perseus like ride on this flying horse, which in the movie looks great and all that, but it's not the way the myth really
Wow.
goes.
Well, that's movies, right? They just
That's
kind of
well, they
embellish.
take artistic license.
Yeah.
That's true. So I worked with Kate Mulgrew for a while on this. I thought for sure I was going to be doing this movie with Kate, and I
So
thought
you
I
mean
was,
you like rehearsed with her?
yeah, we rehearsed. I mean, I was going to do this film, and Richard Burton was going to be the king or whatever he's going to be, and then they came along with this offer to do Clash of the Titans, and I actually kind of it took a couple of weeks for me to figure that out. I went back, I read both of the scripts. I looked at some movies of Burton's, I looked at some movies of Olivier's, and I kind of realized that, if I was going to go to a faraway land and I was going to shoot a movie with somebody, I really wanted to meet Laurence Olivier.
So where'd they shoot Tristan and Isolde?
I think it was somewhere in England. I think I'm not sure, but I
And
think it
then
was
you went to
British.
Malta for Clash?
Well, we went to London, and we ended up in Malta, London, Italy, Spain, and ended up in Malta. Yeah.
And then that's where you met Ursula.
Ursula played Aphrodite. Yeah, she played the goddess of love in Clash of the Titans. That's true.
And she shot you with her arrow.
I mean, Cupid's arrow.
I don't know. Her love arrow.
I suppose that you could look at it that way. I mean, I suppose Cupid was part of that whole deal. I mean, really, it was more like a chance encounter around a flea market that happened while I was.
What does that mean?
Well, we were shooting in Rome, and I was staying at the Hotel della Ville on Via Sistina, and we shot all week, and it was a Saturday night. I was sound asleep, and the phone rang at about 3:00 in the morning, and I answered the phone in a grog, and it was Ursula, and I answered the phone. I said, "Hello," and she said, "Harry, it's Ursula." I went, "Ursula?" And she goes, "Yes, Ursula Andres." I go, "Oh, yes, Ursula." Now, we had met before only one time because
So you hadn't shot any scenes
I hadn't
with her
shot
yet.
any scenes with her. I never shot any scenes with her. She was a goddess and I was a mortal.
Right.
But I had met her at a dinner that we had in London when everybody first got to London to shoot the picture, and the producers had a big dinner with the entire cast, and they sat me next to her. And I didn't know what to say to this woman who was a huge movie star, and I had known about her since I'd
And
seen.
like the biggest sex goddess of all time at that point. Right?
One of them. She
One
was
of
right
them
up there.
with
and
Sophia Loren, Ursula Andress.
She was up there in the heavens of sex goddessism.
Yeah. Did you know who she was before?
Before what?
Before the movie.
Of course. I'd seen Dr. No, and
When she came out in the bikini, that
yes.
orange bikini with like the knife on her.
Yeah,
Like
but
it's iconic.
that is an iconic scene
It's
for sure.
iconic.
And her whole performance is dubbed. It's not her voice.
In that?
That's true. Her English was not very good at that point.
She's Swiss German.
She's Swiss Deutsch. Yeah, that's right.
Swiss German.
So her English was a little still rusty. So they dubbed her performance.
But she was really one of the most gorgeous women on the planet.
And also
on the planet.
Little known not a fact is that my parents gave me a subscription to Playboy magazine when I was 11 years old.
When you were 11?
Yes.
Were they afraid you were gay?
I always wanted to ask them.
I'm sure.
I mean, when I first, it was under the Christmas tree, and there was this thing that it looked like it was a copy of National Geographic. I thought I was getting from Christmas that year. And when I opened it, it was actually a copy of Playboy magazine.
Were you excited?
In what sense?
Well, I mean, you're 11-year-old boy who's
clearly
horny.
Like I said, I got this 5-year subscription to Playboy.
Oh, they were really nervous.
and
they were so nervous.
I always thought, at some point I will ask them. I didn't want to bring it up at the time because I was, I just want to. I want to kind of, a subscription. Oh, that's
like,
that
what
magazine.
do you say when you're 11 years old and you get a subscription to Playboy? Gee, thanks, Ma.
I forget what I said, but it probably was something along those lines.
Gee, thanks, Mama.
But I didn't want to make too big of a deal out of it, right?
Did your brother get it?
No, I got
Only
it.
you got it?
And my brother was 3 years older than I.
Oh, wow.
And I think, I don't know, maybe one of their friends, a good friend of theirs, was actually gay. And he was a man about town, a socialite in LA. And of course, back in those days.
What's a man about town?
Well, he was a single man, a bachelor, who was a gadfly. He was at all
gadfly?
He was at all the social events. He was always invited to all of the big events.
Okay. So he was
the guy at the debutante balls that they used to put on in Pasadena. He would be the guy who would coordinate the ball and all that. But everybody knew that he was a bachelor.
The gay that all the socialite women.
That's right.
Had take them to events, and he escorted them
exactly. But
around
in those days,
town.
The word "gay" hadn't been coined yet. I don't think.
Of course,
this is in the '60s, and so Playboy magazine had only been out for about 4 years at that point, and it was still like, what?
Wow.
What is this magazine? Right?
Well, Marilyn Monroe had been on the first cover.
I guess I never saw the first one, but I got this 5-year subscription. And so you're asking about Ursula. So somewhere along the line in the first or second year, yes, she had a pictorial.
I didn't know that.
And I remember very well what the picture looked like. I haven't seen that picture in years and years.
Full frontal?
No, it was very artistic. She was in a waterfall. And,
did John Derek shoot it?
Probably. I'll bet John Derek did shoot it.
He would have shot it.
Yeah.
Because he shot bows.
I would imagine.
He probably got Ursula to do it.
They were married at the time, I think.
For sure.
So of course I knew who Ursula was, and I had seen her picture in Playboy. I'd never taken her picture into the closet or anything with me, but
to jerk off.
Well, whatever you do when those go. Look, my parents probably thought that I was,
For sure they did.
And they thought, well, maybe this. What do they call that today? That therapy that
conversion therapy.
They probably thought it was a form of conversion therapy, I guess. And I was very happy that they thought that I might be gay.
I'm sure you were. Are you kidding? I wonder, whoever's listening, of our 5 listeners, if any of them ever had a Playboy given to them at 11 years old. I doubt it.
I very much doubt it.
I doubt anyone has had that under their Christmas tree. I'd like to know if you got that. Call in and let us know that when you were such and such age, your parents gave you a 5-year subscription to Playboy. I think you're probably out there on your own a little bit. I'd like to know if anybody else got that. I'm real curious.
I would be too. I would love to know if anybody else had the privilege of, being able to squirrel away a Playboy magazine at 11. But as I recall, I think it was even before I had understood what that whole scene was all about. I mean, I was pretty young still.
11's pretty young for a boy.
I was pretty young. I'm not sure that...
Were you in puberty yet even?
I'm not even sure I was.
So maybe your voice hadn't even dropped.
That's not the only thing that hadn't dropped, I'm sure. So, but I did appreciate it, put it that way. And I had this, you get 12 a year, so I had 60
No, I know
copies
my
at the
dad had
end.
them right next to the toilet.
So yeah, I mean, your dad was considerably
Always.
older than I.
Always had them in a basket.
Really?
Oh,
And
yeah.
and did you look through them? And
Yeah, of
yeah,
course. I mean, he always had Playboy. They
yeah.
came in the mail. He put them right next to the toilet. I grew up with them.
Well, I can say without equivocation that I have never read an article that was in
I'm
Playboy.
sure you haven't.
No.
Yeah. But the articles were really good.
I hear that the articles
Real
were
good.
good.
They
I
always
was into
said
the
good articles.
visuals. I liked the visuals. Men, we have this speaking of opposites, men
Yeah.
and women have a whole different way of approaching sexuality
Totally.
because our sexuality is very visual,
Yeah.
and we get turned on visually. I don't think women have the same
Yeah, we
thing.
do. Yeah, we do, but it's different because we
Yeah.
want feelings attached to the visual.
Yeah,
I think more or less.
we just want the holes.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know.
yeah.
So I mean, what can I say? I mean,
Well, you just said it.
yeah.
You did just say it. You said holes.
Well,
Holes. We just want the holes.
well,
I mean, you just opened yourself up. I can't always try and help you. When you just say, we just want holes, I go, you know what? Good luck to you. Good
what?
luck to you, Harry
Well,
Hamlin.
but
I've done the best I can.
but that worked out very well. We have two beautiful daughters,
do.
because I found them. So
You found the holes?
yeah. Having that subscription really gave me a great education
my
about how to
God.
find those things,
Well, it worked well for you.
Uh-huh.
This is good. Thank you,
Well,
Bernice and
Chan, my
Chan.
father, yeah, and I always wanted
Chan and Bernice.
I wanted to ask them, why did you give me?
You
I
never
mean, what fucking
did?
possessed them to give me a subscription to Playboy at
You
that
never
age?
asked?
I never asked, and then they died, and it's like one of those things that
You guys ask
shit,
your parents all the questions that you want before they go.
because there's a
Do
couple
it.
of questions I wanted to get answered, and they were
Do
never
it.
answered. And
Oh, you
it's like,
gotta ask.
and that's a big one. Like what were you thinking? Giving me that. But I got to tell you, I was really popular for a couple of years.
God, I bet you were. Would your brother steal him from you? How did you keep him from him?
Well, I mean, I think he had access. I didn't
Oh,
keep them from
They
him.
just were out. So did
Yeah.
all the boys come over to your house and want to take them and borrow them, or just come peek?
No, there was definitely I was like a lending library for a few years. Uh-huh.
Could have made money. You could have charged.
Yeah, at that point, I was not much of an entrepreneur, but I looking back on it, there's a lot of ways I could have made money back in those days.
Like what
but,
else?
Um,
What else?
well,
How else could you have made money?
well, the way I did make money, all throughout those
I know.
years. Tell me one way.
Selling Christmas trees.
I did. Every Christmas I sold Christmas trees.
Yeah.
But I also, I had no skills at all. So I
But
put,
you were pretty darn cute. You were good looking.
well,
child.
maybe that's why they gave me the subscription. Maybe they thought
Yeah.
that I was going down that other rabbit
You
hole.
were pretty good looking
Speaking
kid.
of holes. But no, I actually made a lot of money this way. In those days, they had ads in the paper. They classified ads in the paper, and everybody read them.
Most
I guess
people don't know what that is, probably.
a classified
but yeah.
ad was in a newspaper. You could pay some money to a newspaper. You could put an ad saying you could offer your services.
It's like an Instagram post now, basically, or TikTok.
I guess so. Or like Craigslist.
Yeah,
might be.
but
So,
way earlier.
yeah,
It was the early version of all of that.
of all of that.
And that's all you could do. You had to call in the paper, and you paid money for it, and you
got
put
a little ad.
your little ad in.
And I put a little ad that said that I and my friend Charlie would offer our services as handymen for $5 an hour. $5 an hour. So that was $10 an hour for the two of us. And I made money hand over fist, cleaning out garages,
Oh, wow.
painting, scraping.
How old were you?
14, 15, 16,
That's
17. And I
smart.
did it every summer during my teenage years. I wanted to go to Woodstock in 1969 and didn't have enough money to go to Woodstock, and so put that ad in the paper. Made $500 before the concert. And
Wow.
I went into after I had enough money to get there and get back. I went to my parents and I said, "Hey, could I borrow the station wagon for 2 weeks?" And I'm 17 years
time.
old. I'm 17, and they said, "What for?" I said, "Oh, I want to drive to New York and go to this rock concert." And they said, "Oh, just make sure there's plenty of air in the tires." That's all they said. At
17, they said, yeah, take for
the car.
2 weeks and drive across the country 3,000 miles.
Exactly. And I did it.
Wow. You
crazy.
had a lot of freedom.
If Delilah or Amelia had come to us and said, can we borrow the car at 17 and drive across the country, would we have said yes?
No.
Just put some air in the tires. Make sure there's plenty of air in the tires.
Wow.
I know. Well, I never made it to Woodstock because Charlie and I we drove the Canadian route. We got to Sault Ste. Marie, which is north of New York. And on the radio, they said that this big rock concert, nobody knew it was called Woodstock at that point, but that this rock concert had been canceled because of inclement weather, which it was.
It was. It rained, didn't
it?
It
rained horribly.
It rained out.
Like we were there. We were just going to drift down from Sault Ste. Marie right into New York and go to the concert the next day. But they said, don't even bother because the roads are clogged and you can't get here. So we didn't end up going after we drove all the way across the country.
What a bummer.
It was a bummer. So anyway, yeah, I was very popular for a few years with my subscription to Playboy.
So what did you say to Ursula Andress? Did you tell her, oh, hey, I saw you in Playboy?
No. This episode is brought to you by NOCD. Now, our daughter Delilah has OCD, and I can tell you, OCD is not what most people think. That stereotype about liking things organized has it totally wrong. Real OCD involves thoughts you can't stop, don't want, and often feel ashamed or scared to be thinking. Like, what if I don't really love my partner? When that thought feels totally out of sync with how you actually feel. Or, what if I snap and do something horrible, even though that's the last thing you'd ever want to do? Then your brain tells you to do something about those thoughts just to feel okay. But no matter what you try, the relief never lasts. OCD is a lot more common and a lot more serious than most people realize. We saw this up close when Delilah started showing signs of the condition, but here's why we felt hopeful and why you can too. OCD is very treatable with the right kind of therapy. Standard talk therapy, the kind you hear about online, usually doesn't help OCD. In fact, it often makes it worse. OCD needs specialized treatment, and that's why I want to tell you about NOCD. NOCD is the world's largest OCD treatment provider, and they're not your average virtual therapy platform. It's specifically designed for people with OCD, and all of their therapists are trained in ERP therapy, which is proven to be the most effective treatment for OCD. NOCD makes treatment accessible with insurance coverage for over 155 million Americans and provides support between your sessions so you're never alone. If any of this sounds familiar, go to NOCD.com and book a free call to learn how they can help. That's NOCD.com.
Yeah.
No, I had no idea what to say to her. I'm sitting next to this woman at this dinner party in London, and Olivier is there.
You're 28 years old.
I'm 28. Maggie Smith is there. Claire Bloom is there. Burgess Meredith is there.
It was a stellar cast.
I'm sitting next to this beautiful, beautiful woman. I have no clue what to say to her. I didn't want to say, by the way, I used to want your picture in Playboy. Didn't really want to say that.
Yeah,
so
probably a good idea.
So I was sort of tongue twisted, and I said something about flea markets. I think just that week before I'd been to the flea market at the Rose Bowl. And I was.
That is exhilarating conversation, Harry. That must have just really gotten her goat.
It did.
Did it?
No, it did. Yeah. Well, as soon as I mentioned the word flea market, she perked right up.
Well.
She is a huge aficionado of flea markets all over the world. Who knew, right?
Who knew?
I said the magic words.
So,
So
ding, ding.
Immediately, she was engaged, and she said, "Oh, the flea market! Yes, I love the flea market in London, in Paris, in Rome." And ended up, we had this long conversation about flea markets at dinner, and then a month and a half later, I'm in Rome. She's on the phone. It's 3:00 in the morning. Harry, I had a dream about you that we went to the flea market.
Go, Ursula.
And she said, the flea market is tomorrow morning in Rome, Porto Portese. And she said, can we meet up for the flea market? I said, okay. So I met her in the morning, and we went to the flea market. And I still have a few things from that flea market adventure. There's one in our bathroom, and
well, show me. I'd like to see.
It's a little deer that sort of goes like that.
It's in the it's by the bathtub.
Yeah.
You got that with Ursula Andress
at the
first?
Porto Portese, yeah.
I see that every single day.
There
I
you
put
go.
like a diamond tiara on its head.
Well, that was from my first day with Ursula.
What about the thing, that kind of thing that looks similar, the deer
Same bottom at the same time. They were
the
both
coffee table
being sold at the same time. They were part of a set. Those two things.
Wow.
Yes.
And I love those things.
Yeah. So that was my morning with
no
Ursula.
idea that was right. Those things were right before you fucked Ursula Andress.
Excuse me. What did you just? I don't want you to repeat it, but I mean, hello.
I don't think I need to, but hello.
No, I mean, like to go. You made an assumption there.
Well, you have a child with Ursula Andress.
Well, that is very true. That did happen.
So I think I can say that.
I guess so.
I mean, think
it's a little abrupt,
but
the way you said it.
Yes, of course, because that's how I am. But now that I look at those things, I have a different connotation than I did before we got here.
Okay. Well, yeah. So
I love them.
So we did the flea market that day, and I got those 2 items, and we went back to her apartment on the Via Sistina, which was magnificent. And the Via Sistina is right there at the Spanish Steps, and it's only a few doors away from the hotel I was staying.
Oh, I like that hotel. I know that hotel.
It was not the Hassler. I was staying at the De La Ville, which is right next to the
Then I only know the Hassler.
And then she invited me back to her apartment, where she cooked the most magnificent steak dinner. I mean, she was a great cook, I have to say.
Well, I can't compete with that. Too bad.
No, you can't compete with that. But then no one's asking you to compete with that. But after
She's
dinner,
gorgeous. She can cook.
She just said, I'm going to change into something a little more comfortable, and then
I bet she did.
She reappeared, and
was she negligee?
Well, what do you think? I mean, so.
I would imagine a very sexy.
Like a month and a half later, we happened to be had been invited to go to the Cairo Film Festival, and
in Egypt.
And we rented a room on a boat, on a Sheraton hotel boat, to go down the Nile, and we were cruising down the Nile one evening, and she said, "Hattie, I'm late."
Shit.
And I said, What are you late for? I mean, we're on the boat here." She said, "No, Hattie, I'm late. I'm late."
Oh boy! And you're 28 years old.
I was 28, and so yeah. She left and went to see her OBGYN, her gynecologist, something in Rome, and I stayed on the boat with my friend Laird, and we ended up exploring a lot more of Egypt after she left. But and then 9 months later, Dimitri, who's like the light of my life, my son, Dimitri. So yeah, it all worked out really well.
It did, but wow. It's so interesting how choices in life, we never really know where they're going to take us.
No, we don't. Where are we going to be next year? Who knows?
I mean, you can plan, you can manifest, and then you can all throw it out the window because God or a higher power of whatever you believe has another plan.
Well, I mean, my son Dimitri wanted to come onto the planet and found me and Ursula to be his parents.
That is a story that probably a lot of people don't know. That's what I like about this. We can tell stories that people would never imagine.
Well, yeah,
right?
We have a lot of them. I mean,
we've
been on this road for a long time, darling. We got some water under this bridge.
We sure have, and I'm your third wife. 3.
Okay, rub it in.
3.
Rub it in.
Well, I think it's kind of phenomenal. You should own it and take, you should take pride in it. 3 wives, and I'm the one that's stuck. That's not bad for you. You kind of lucked out in the end because it wasn't looking good for you.
Am I? I'm not in any way contradicting that. 3's a charm, right?
That's right.
So there you go. Yeah, and I've got lots of stories about the other 2 gals too. So we'll get to that at some point.
Yeah, we have to be. You have to be careful of that.
I
probably.
guess. Well,
they might sue you or something. Who knows?
I would have to be saying something horrible. I would never say anything bad about my ex-wives.
Oh.
No. I mean, if I married them, I'm not going to. I married them for a reason, right?
That's right.
It's not like I knew what I was getting into,
That's
right?
That's right.
I went in with the best possible intentions.
I think everyone does.
Yeah.
Were they opposite you, or were they more like you? How about that question?
They were more like. So yeah, we were much more like each other. So this is why the opposite thing is really
Guys,
works.
listen to this.
Yeah.
So those 2 other ladies were more like you.
They're much more like I am. And what you want to do out there, just for a little word of advice for the people looking for a mate out there, find someone who you really think is completely and utterly opposite from you.
Wow, Harry Hamlin with the pearls of wisdom right there. I never asked you that question. I did not know if they were similar to you or opposite. So
Well,
they're
much
more
more similar than you and I are. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm not sure any of them, either one of those women would have strapped a pack on their back and gone up to 13,000 feet in the high Sierras.
All right. So how are they more like you and not opposite you then?
Well, I mean, we seem to like the same. Well, the one thing you and I do like is traveling together. So we like to go to the same places, except I like really rustic places and you like really fancy places. That's a little bit of a difference in our traveling thing. But I think, I'm not sure I would ever ask you to come in a dugout canoe down the Seapic River with me as I did with my second wife.
That's right. And that could have been one of the reasons why she left you for Michael Bolton. I'm just going to say
more than likely, Michael would have taken her to Saint-Tropez. I took her to the Seapic River for a honeymoon. Yeah, that could have something to do with it.
I think possibly, if I may say, she was like, I'm going to go with it, but I'm going to fucking divorce his ass when I get home because this is fucked up. I'm going down in a dugout canoe for my honeymoon.
And we didn't see porcelain for 2 weeks. No sinks, no toilets. No. If you needed to go, there was a little hole in a board in the woods with a palm frond next to it.
I'm going to say Nicolette Sheridan was like, fuck this shit, man. Fucking get me out of here.
Well, but it was an amazing adventure. I have to say,
it was,
and a very memorable time. Even though, yes, it was as. See, I had said that I wanted to go to the most primitive place on the planet. That was my desire.
And she went, great. Well, I do too.
It's a story that I'm going to have to tell. This is for a whole episode.
We'll come back to this story. They'll give you all something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is a good story, by the way. Yeah. Harry and Nicolette in a dugout canoe going down the Seapic River in
her fucking thong with her ass sticking out. Did I just say that? I did. I did. So I'm going to leave it at that because I have seen the pictures.
Yeah.
And she's.
Is it game time?
I think it's game time.
I think it's game time. Anyway, stay tuned, y'all.
Okay, so on the theme of opposites attract, I thought it would be fun if we put together a little list of Drag Race terminology because Drag Race is obviously one of Lisa's favorite shows. And Harry, I want you to guess what you think these terms mean, and then Lisa and I can kind of fill in the gaps for you.
I love this.
Good, because I have no clue.
Okay.
It's fantastic.
I love it. Okay, so to start off, what do you think a death drop is?
A what?
A death drop.
Death as in dead? Death drop?
Death drop.
Death drop would be somebody jumping out of a plane without a parachute.
Okay, that's a great guess.
That's a great guess.
Lisa, do you know what it is?
I do.
Okay.
Well, it's a dance move, and you literally drop with one leg out and one leg back on your back.
And you don't die?
As you're doing your dance off.
I mean, doesn't that require surgery later?
No.
It's amazing.
No. It's amazing.
It's an athletic feat.
It is. I could not do a death drop. If I did a death drop, I would be at Cedar Sinai in a, brace.
I don't want to see you do a death drop.
I'm going to show you an excellent death drop on RuPaul's Drag Race.
You're going to have to put needles in my feet.
Well, then I will, because you need to see a death drop. It's phenomenal.
All right, whatever.
Okay, next one. What do you think chicken cutlets are?
Chicken cutlets?
Uh-huh.
Well, a chicken cutlet is
he doesn't know,
something you fry up in a frying pan and you eat it with like summer squash or something. What is a chicken cutlet?
That sounds delicious.
I could go down a certain rabbit hole here. I'm not going to go down that one. Okay?
Eve, tell him what a chicken cutlet is.
Okay, so a chicken cutlet is a little insert that drag queens use to create the illusion of cleavage.
So you put it in for your boobs.
Yeah.
Make boobs.
To make your boobs look like you've got some?
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. I'm a chicken cutlet.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
That was a tough one. Okay, the next one is, what does it mean to beat your face?
To beat your face. Do you know what that means, to beat your face? Well, to beat my face? Okay, so if I was going to beat my face, look.
He doesn't know.
Oh, I don't. some images are coming up for me
He
that are
does
definitely
not
X-rated.
know.
I don't want to go there. So
Oh
what is
my
it?
God.
What does beating your face mean?
You can say, tell the real. I know what it is, but tell the real.
Yeah. So basically, it means to do a fantastic job on your makeup and blend your makeup really well. So if a drag queen has done a really good job on her makeup, you'd say, oh my God, that is an amazing beat. You beat your face. Great
like
job.
when you pound in the powder and you beat it down, so you are beat. Your face is beat.
So that's when someone looks like their face is plastic?
No, it just looks really like you are snatched. Your
Snatched.
makeup is
snatched?
Flawless.
What does it mean, snatched? I know what a snatch is. How can you snatch your face?
Snatched is a good thing. If you're snatched, you're like, everything's tight and right.
The cheekbones are sitting high.
Yeah.
The highlight is on.
Yeah, you're just looking fine.
Everything's blended.
I only have one snatch in my life that I pay attention to.
What's that?
You'd have to. Do you know what a snatch is?
Yeah.
No.
Your vagina.
Okay.
Oh.
It's a vagina.
See, I got something
teaching you.
I got something that you don't know.
Okay,
vagina.
I am
All
being
right.
educated.
Vagina.
Okay.
Love it. Okay, next one. What is eleganza extravaganza?
That would definitely be something that eleganza is extravaganza.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, that's something that would take place in Las Vegas.
It could.
Kind of good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something possessing extreme elegance, sometimes a runway category that they do on Drag Race.
Eleganza is
Extravaganza.
Eleganza extravaganza.
Okay.
She's got it.
All right.
Okay, next one. What does it mean if something is sickening?
Sickening?
Sickening.
Well, the girls use terms, my kids use terms like that to say something's really amazing.
There you
great,
go.
Yeah,
right?
you got one.
So, all right.
You got one.
Nailed it, Harry. Okay, what does it mean to sissy that walk?
Say it again.
Sissy that
Sissy
walk.
that walk? I mean, to be walking down the runway or something? I mean, I don't know. What is it? You tell me.
It's to like really, throw your hips and really like sashay away.
Well,
Like,
I think I got that.
yeah, I mean,
right?
you're close.
Yeah,
Give
it's
me
to
that
yeah,
one.
to
Come
strut.
on,
Yeah,
give me
just
that
really
one.
strut.
I'm a straight guy.
Yeah.
You're throwing me all these gay
Yeah.
terms, I
We'll
got
give it to you.
We'll give it.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll give
Yeah.
you that one. Okay, what do you think a drag mother is?
A drag mother would be the mother of some drag queen. No?
Yes!
Yeah, pretty
I mean-
much, and not a real mother in a biological sense,
But
like
a chosen.
exactly
like a chosen
So like the
mother.
mentor, someone who
Yes,
mentors, who
very
teaches
much
you
so.
teaches you
Exactly.
how to be a drag queen.
Exactly.
Well, and teaches you about life, because a lot of these kids, these drag kids, were ostracized from their families. So they had no one. And so these drag mothers would take them in and teach them about life,
This
not
is-
just about drag.
So someone who came out and their parents turned their backs on them, you mean?
Disowned them and kicked them out.
There's somebody like that on the set of Mayfair Witches. One of the guys in the crew whose parents, he came out. He's from
No.
Shreveport, Louisiana. He came out and he hasn't seen his parents in years. All of his friends, his church, everybody ostracized him. Yeah, really
It's
tragic.
Really tragic.
Yeah.
And so a drag mother, I think, they're amazing humans, because they take on, usually more than one kid. So they'll have
a whole house.
a whole house of,
Mm-hmm.
So they have a house that they
have
rent
a house
out rooms
that they
or give-
live in
Oh,
New
really?
York. I mean, this was a big thing. I don't think I ever showed you Paris is Burning, but everybody should see Paris is Burning, because it is one of those documentaries that is truly extraordinary about drag culture and where it came from, and the survivors and the drag mothers and the houses, the different houses, and they all have different names. It is. I've seen it 10 times.
I bet you have.
It's
and
been
once again, that's
phenomenal.
going to be tough to get me to see that one. But maybe, I mean, you might convince me to sit down. And
I
go through
think
that.
you'd be
Yeah.
fascinated by it. I think it's a fascinating, really
I am
well
a
done
curious person, and
documentary.
I'm curious about stuff like that. So yeah, I'll watch it.
Have
Yeah.
you watched Pose?
Love Pose.
Yeah,
I
that's a
watched
really good one.
all of it.
Yeah.
So Pose, Ryan Murphy's show, was taken from that time.
I remember walking through the room with you when you were watching Pose.
Yes,
yeah.
I
I never
was-
stopped and watched with you. But
Yes, but that's
if
what-
Alone was on downstairs, that's where I was going.
That's right. And I wasn't. So there you go.
All
It's a
right.
good thing we have an upstairs and a downstairs.
There you go.
Thank God for that.
Thank God for that.
Okay, next one, Harry. This is an acronym. What do you think CUNT stands for?
Well, I know what it stands for.
But in drag language.
In drag
it's an
language,
acronym.
what does it stand for?
See you next Thursday.
Oh, close. See you next Tuesday.
What, Tuesday, Thursday? They both
It's
start with a
just
T. Who gives a
Tuesday.
shit?
Well, I think you're thinking of something else, Lisa.
Oh, it's
what,
not?
What I have is charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent.
I am off.
Yeah.
I'm off.
Charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent.
I didn't know
Mhm,
that. I'm
mhm.
thinking the other way.
Yep.
Well, I learned something new too.
Well, good for you.
Wow.
Okay, last one. And you actually already said this, but I'm curious if Harry clocked it. Sashay away.
To sashay away is to, I don't know, swing your hips when you're walking away or something. What is it?
It's time to go. You are banished. Bye-bye.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sashay away.
Sashay. You know when I do this with my hand?
Yeah, you do that to me. It really pisses me off. You say,
I do this.
yeah.
It's so funny, and that's what sashay
What
away
she's
is
doing
this.
right now is she's flicking me away with her hand. And yeah, it really pisses me off when you do that. It's like, get out of here. You're
It's
worthless
such
being.
a powerful hand gesture.
No, it's very limp-wristed, if you ask me.
I love it.
I love it. Okay, that was fun. You
That
did,
was fun.
You did
Thanks,
pretty well,
guys.
Harry.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Thanks for listening. See you next time.